money or wealth or success does not look a certain way. I focus on money management. All of these things were so sound that a $970,000 property with a $90,000 loan at age 22, if you grab that same property, same loan repayment, same interest rate, and same household income, you'll get completely different reactions. The early days was spray and hope. That's the best way to describe it. I tried to do 100 things. One of my best habits is I say yes to a lot. I say yes to everything. And then I do it, I give everything a go, and then I decide off the back of that, do I want to say yes again? If I build a situation for me that if all hell breaks loose, things don't work out the way I want to, and I look at this worst case and I go, wow, that's a really good life, that I landed in my horrible position was this, then I give big things a go constantly. Interest rates rising, oh, everything's going to go down. Interest rates falling, everything's going to boom.
Welcome to the RAWREAL podcast, where we go beyond the headlines and into the human behind the hustle. Now, some people buy houses, and some people understand what a truly house means. Behind every property, there's a story, and behind every property, there's a dream. And behind every dream, there is a decision. Today's guest is a man who helps people turn decisions into destiny. From humble beginnings to building one of Australia's most respected property research firms. His journey is a proof that clarity beats chaos and data beats drama. Please welcome Arjun Paliwal, founder of InvestorKit, the man who turned data into opportunity. Firstly, let's welcome our guest, Mr. Arjun. Thanks, Arjun, for coming on to the show.
Appreciate you having me, mate.
Arjun, firstly, I ask this to every single guest. I'd love to know or want to know from you, how's life going on?
Good question. Okay. Life's got a few things going on, so I try and divide things into buckets just to make it easier. So I'd say health, a bit of a roller coaster. I had a really amazing Jan to June 2025, lost like 16 kilos. I hit my goal of being under 100. And then I'd say July onwards, I'm like, woohoo, hit my goal.
Yeah.
And suddenly if you don't get on to the next goal quickly enough, you let it go a little bit.
Yeah.
But now that's bouncing back. Got some good momentum again with my trainer, which has been good. But that was a bit of a funky one. If I put on the family bucket, I've had some really good time with family, like travels, exploring the world. My kids just get cuter and cuter and cuter. But when it comes to the family, I probably like to see them a little bit more than I have of late. I've been having some, long nights, working through a lot of cool new transformations and changes. And then on the work bucket, I'd say work's been transformational but tough. Like we've been, just not resting on our laurels, aiming for bigger things, solving bigger problems.
Yeah.
But there are journeys along the way that just mean that you can't get everything you want now. Delayed gratification happens, and you just got to get through certain rougher patches as you try and get through those transformational changes of a business. And it's very humbling, but it's also very exciting because you know where you can take it. So that's kind of the way I'd say, like work, life, health, family. I divide things into buckets, but overall, I'd say it's good, man. What's there to be upset about? I'm living.
Nice. There's a lot going on out there,
Yeah.
I would say.
Absolutely.
Now, Arjun, before we start off, I'd like to understand a bit more about you. Like you started off with curiosity and not capital because you weren't born into property world, but somehow you found your way to it. What was the spark probably that made you say that I want to understand how the wealth really works?
Yeah, I'd say there were two defining moments for me. The first one is just being around the dining table at home.
Yeah.
You have parents that can talk about things in three different ways, I feel. Open talking about wealth and all the amazing things, the learnings, the new decisions, and that becomes the dining table conversation. You have a second family that is all about, just don't talk about it. It's a taboo topic. We don't talk about those things here.
Yeah.
And then you have a third type of family which talks about it, but it's a bit of a roller coaster. Oh, I should have done that. And, oh, wow, I did that. That one went well. Or, wow, this person's killing it. Or that person's not killing it. Or all of these things. So my dad and my mum were like the third part.
Yeah.
They talked about money openly, but it was a roller coaster.
Right.
Some good stories, some bad stories, some, who did that, why did they do that, and a bit of everything. So I feel like that was the first defining moment, just hearing it all the time. Then the second defining moment for me would be working in the bank.
Right.
I was so grateful that I'd got a loss of, I missed out a lot of job applications, and I'd not had success in my earlier career.
Right.
But then to land in the bank and then be in that world, that to me was the next defining moment for money, wealth, debt, property, how it all worked, because people just come into their workplaces. And I think this is one of the biggest mistakes of many people today, is that they come into the workplaces and just do the job. But they don't realize that they're in this area where they're learning how things work of that relevant niche, of that relevant area. And if you take that and look at it really deeply, even if it's just like, cleaning, right? You could be doing a cleaning job, but there's so many things you're learning about the functions of a business. There's so many things you're learning about what you're cleaning, how far and wide you can clean, how many things you could do. So I just feel like in any industry, like people do make that mistake. They just do the job. And so for me, that was my second defining moment, is being in the bank and learning about money in that way.
Right. So can we say that probably your role in the bank was a sort of a spark for you to just probably learn a bit more about the wealth?
100%, because I think the banking world, it does these two things. Number one is it teaches you to not judge a book by its cover. You get people walking from all walks of life. Like I'm talking the brown jandals or sandals that are ripping apart with paint stains on a shirt, hair that never been combed before, but then all of a sudden there's millions of debt or assets or millions of cash sitting in their bank account as soon as you swipe the card. Or the person in the high-flying three-piece suit with the pocket napkin coming off, as fresh as they could be. Everyone thinks they're $1 million, but you swipe the card and they're to their eyeballs in credit card debt. And then all the in-between stories and the opposites. So you see that money or wealth or success does not look a certain way, or that people in the outside world make it think that it looks a certain way, right? And so I feel like that's probably one of the coolest things about the banking world. And so you didn't feel you had to become something or someone in a perception view to make money or have money or do well financially, because you saw people from all sides of life. And so you saw that there was many ways to skin the cat, as they say.
Nice. That's an interesting perspective, probably. I guess it's sort of a way to learn the jargons of your industry, whatever you are in a niche, and to learn from that. I'd love to know from you one thing was there a particular moment, maybe your first deal, your first win, that made you believe that this could become something bigger than a side hustle, probably something mainstream?
In terms of my business, the good news is it was never a side hustle. The power of knowing that, though, is that I'm one of those people that goes in on 100%. Like, I know it sounds weird to say, but I borderline feel that if I'm doing something else, and not everyone has to align with this, because I know everyone's situation is not the same, but I feel that if I'm doing something else whilst in my workplace, I'm cheating my workplace.
Right.
Like I have this like righteousness, nobility, whatever you want to call it. Like it's like I stayed in and locked in on what I did, and then only once I left, I decided what I wanted to do and did what I'm doing today. But in terms of the first deal that made it really happen for me, I would say the first deal for me was actually just buying my first property.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a $970,000 place in 2015 in the northwest suburbs of Sydney. And I thought, okay, I've got a 90% loan on this property, not a small loan. I'm 22 years old. And I'm great that my partner and I came together, joined forces, got into the market. And I thought this place is going to be it for me. As in like this place is going to wipe out a lot of money, a lot of repayments, but good, you made it, you got in there early and life's good. But it didn't. It made me realize that my financial habits are so sound. My partner's financial habits are so sound. Our discipline, our career trajectory, our focus on income, our focus on money management. All of these things were so sound that a $970,000 property with a $90,000 loan at age 22 and a interest rates with a 4 and 5 in front, because they weren't super cheap back then in 2015. And it didn't feel like much. And so as a result, we realized, hey, we got more in the tank. So that was the defining moment for me, because as soon as you had that moment where like, you've got more in the tank, we went harder and we purchased multiple properties from there.
Interesting. I guess that's one of the biggest steps I feel that you would have taken, because it's all about taking that one particular step if you really want to grow and if you really want to scale. And it's all about you either go in or go out.
Absolutely. And like also, you notice that I mentioned that property didn't feel hard, right? I can tell you right now that if you grab that same property, same loan repayment, same interest rate, and same household income,
right,
and you just move that between 5 different households, you'll get completely different reactions.
Right.
The different reactions you're going to get is one person that goes, oh, that feels easy, we can do more. Another family will go, oh my God, I'm so stretched. This is the most financially, like this is such a burden.
Yeah.
And this is the difference between sound money management, financial habits, psychology, mindset, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to investing, is you could have the same variables,
Right.
expenses in terms of the potential of expenses or the potential of how much you can tighten your belt, right?
Right.
Then it's like the income, the loan, the repayments, the one household just goes, oh no, I want to tighten the belt on certain things. And the other household can manage, can visualize, can have a bigger goal ahead of them. So that is basically one core thing I'd say was a defining moment, which was that I thought that wasn't a lot for me and I could keep going.
I feel it's all about the mindset of how you probably think and have about your habits, aligning them to make sure you get the best possible output.
Yeah, that's a starting point for sure.
Yeah. One thing I would love to know from you, Arjun, is was there a specific moment or a mentor that changed on how you looked at money, property, or success probably?
No, I would say there's constant shifts and changes. Like my first moment was dad around the dining table. My second moment was being in the bank and multiple team members across the bank. It was the person who guided and mentored me when I was doing telling.
Yeah.
Or one person who was a manager of that branch, or one person, like I just found that my growth desires and the success I was having over the months or years
Right.
meant that I constantly sought out new inspiration. But then I found like it just keeps changing for me. And so one big thing that I found helped me get some focus was something called I call it my decision tree of like mentorship. And I have this like one major tree, and this tree is like this one person who thinks, acts, lives a certain way.
Right.
And for me, that's been Grant Cardone in the past. Family man, healthy, has his values that he lives by, extremely hustle, high motor engine, like, real estate, business, sales, all these things that worked well. And then I have this view that there are people who follow his style or do certain things similarly or aligned with him, who have learned from him, and they're now not the main tree, they're the branches.
Okay.
And then there are these people I follow, so that way my mind doesn't get confused.
Right.
I'm following certain people who align with someone. It's like if you went to Dave Ramsey, someone who goes, don't have debt.
Yeah.
And then if you went to Grant Cardone, someone who goes, use leverage and get scale and leverages your scale, you're going to be paralyzed and confused.
Yeah.
Both people are successful in their own right. So you have to choose this tree that's your one absolute North Star.
Yeah.
Then you have your branches along the way.
True.
And they're your kind of like also major players like Alex Hormozy, Brandon Dawson,
Yeah.
People like that. And then you have your leaves.
Yeah.
Your leaves aren't like less off, but your leaves can drop off. They can fall off. They have seasons. They keep changing. There's someone you might have locally next to you who you reach a skill, you learn a skill from. Someone's really good at marketing. I want to learn how they do that. Someone's really good at podcasting. I want to learn how they do that. Add it to your tool belt, but you're coming for a specific skill. They're a leaf in your tree at the time. They maybe do things like Hormozy does that tree, or that branch, and then they fall off because you've now got that one thing, you've added it to your arsenal. You keep moving on. And so I've used that as a bit of a system for myself to avoid people who don't align with my North Star, who don't align with my values, who don't align with my belief systems.
Right.
Because you can find enough people out there to confuse you, but you can also find enough people out there who think a certain way, like how you want to think, and they can drive you to success. So I know I went around and saying that I started off with saying, no, I don't. I do, I guess the short answer is I do have that person as a North Star. But if I break it down, the leaf part explains why I say I don't, because it's constantly changing. I keep shifting to who I get inspiration from, as long as they're in line with that North Star person.
Yeah.
They might not be fully in line, but something's in line and something doesn't oppose.
Right.
And so I feel like if I can do that, then I get people who are all similarly family people, high motor, high engine, high accountability, high desires.
Yeah.
And there's an element of real estate, business, leverage, growth, these things, and building through your team. So I feel like these 5 principles sit for most people, then they align with me in some way or the other.
Right, that's a completely fresh perspective. And I guess a lot of people would agree with what you've said, because it's always aligning with people or some values which you feel align with what you want to achieve in your life or what you want to follow. It's always picking the best values out of the person that you want to go along with.
Yeah.
Interesting take. I'd love to know from you this particular thing while we were researching about your firm and everything. I'd love to know from you, a lot of people do chase trends in a lot of different aspects that I want to do this, want to do that, but you chase data. Why?
I chase data because I felt like in my investing journey, there was an element of that missing at the start.
Mhm.
And then I realized that, oh, I could have avoided these mistakes.
Right.
I could have avoided these things. How? By knowing certain trends and data. And so I made that my personal focus to go, if I know these trends and data, I'm able to get to a certain point of my investing journey where there's predictability to the largest possible level you can.
Right.
Like you see machine learning predictions and forecasts. Some people go 85% accuracy, 90, 91. I'm like, how could I just dial that accuracy level up to a point where I go, this is as much as I get to.
Yeah.
And if anything else happens, I'll take it. At least I got this much of the journey through. So that's kind of where it started from my property investing level, where data always played a part. And then I just thought to myself, well, how can I give that same comfort of certainty to others around me?
Right.
And so this has been a big focus of mine.
Interesting. That is very interesting, bringing into data and all the technology sort of stuff into the business. I'd love to know this from you, because I feel starting InvestorKit wasn't easy, because it's a tough space generally, because full of noise. What were those early days like for you?
The early days was spray and hope. That's the best way to describe it. I tried to do 100 things.
Yeah.
Every person promising they could change the life of your business, change the trajectory of it. And one of my best, I'd say, skills, or I don't know if it's a skill, but like habits, positive habits. One of my best habits is I say yes to a lot.
Yeah.
I say yes to everything. And then I do it. I give everything a go. And then I decide off the back of that, do I want to say yes again? And that has had pros and cons.
Yeah.
The pro is that my risk tolerance is higher than most.
Yeah.
My pro is that I'm meeting a lot more new people in my life than others would with a similar stature. The other pros is that I learn quickly. I learn fast. I really have my change in my output of knowledge is drastic. What would take someone 3 or 4 years to learn, I usually learn in a 3-6 month basis, because I get experts around me. I say yes to everything that they do.
Yeah.
And then I bring it in, and I quickly realize what worked for me and didn't. But experts are usually good when they can tell their expertise simply.
Yeah.
And so if you try and learn everything yourself, it's not to say you can't learn it in deep time on YouTube, deep time on internet, deep time on courses and seminars and things like that. But the problem is that when you do that learning, you end up having to take in a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas if you get done for you across any part of your life, whether it's a done for you marketing, done for you podcasting, done for you funnel, done for you certain systems and operations, someone has to break it down to the simplest pattern for it to actually be applicable.
Yeah.
And so I find like my learning was really quick. The downside is it cost a lot of money. I didn't make much money in my first year when I talk about bottom line. The cost of it is that you kind of look like an idiot when you don't have things work out for you.
Yeah.
And the cost of it as well is that don't have a lot of time for anyone or anything, because you've said yes to 100 things and you've got to figure it out and be with those people and give things a go. So I'd say that's what my first year reminds me of. It's like, I'm so glad that I said yes to everything, because I learned a lot of things quickly. People make the mistakes I made in year 1 at year 4, 5, 6, and I didn't have to. And the second thing is that what I did in year 1 also cost me a lot of time, health, energy. But you're in your 20s and 30s, you have a lot of it.
One thing I would like to know from what you've said is, I know you've said that you are habituated to say yes to a lot of things, but do you reckon as a person, if you want to grow, you need to have that balance of where you know what you need to say yes to, but also you need to know what you need to say no to?
Yeah.
Do you feel that balance?
It's a really good point. I'm learning that now.
Yeah.
Like these last few weeks, maybe last few months, like I've said, I need to go and do these things in particular. And the old Arjun wouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Because I'd just say yes to it all and have it all done. But now it's like you're being forced to.
Yeah.
I feel we're getting to a level of impact where the same 24 hours in a day are truly being tested.
Yeah.
And when it's being tested, my old answers of being able to go until 10 p.m., midnight, 3 a.m. doesn't solve it anymore. Like I used to be able to solve everything in my life with just those, turn on the midnight oil and get going. But now to do that, that's still required in moments.
Yeah.
But it's required in the right area. And that's probably my biggest learning.
Yeah.
Is that in the past, I didn't have to say no to anything.
Yeah.
And that's because I had enough time and enough energy to just go through it all.
Yeah.
But now it's at a level where as life gets on and you rise up in certain whether it be levels of roles, whether it be business revenue, whether it be investing, whether it be clients, whether it be things to do, whatever the thing is. Now I see why those people in their 50s and 60s prioritize their time and safeguard it so tightly, because you just get so many inputs or outputs for you to be able to take in or put your energy to, where it's like very difficult for you to, do that all. And so I would say some people have different ways to label it. Some say, oh, you got to get good at saying no to stuff.
Yeah.
I would say not that. I'd say you still have to be the yes person, but you have to get really good at saying no to the right things you said no to. And so that's probably my biggest learning. I'm learning it the hard way by going through a lot of yeses and realizing, I should have changed this up in my workplace. But what it's making me realize is when I have those wins, they're sweeter than ever. Like I've had wins recently where I focused in a lot of time and hours in a certain area.
Yeah.
And through that focus, I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
It was only because I said no to this and yes to focusing on that I was able to get that time, and I got in the right area and I made the right decision. So I think that's the biggest takeout now. It's not just a simple of you should say no more. It's like you should always be the yes person. The yes person is what got you here and will get me to my future as the yes person.
Yeah.
But it's can I deliver this? Can I gain the skill to say no on the right things at the right time and get me closer to the things I need to say yes to at the right time? That's the thing.
Interesting. That is very interesting. Now, Arjun, I would like to know one thing from you. You've built something which is authentic and research driven. Have you resisted the temptation to do what everyone was doing, like quick wins, hype, and probably flashy marketing?
It's actually very easy.
Yeah.
Very, very easy. I find that building the best worst case has been something I live by as a bit of a mantra. The best worst case is that if I build a situation for me that if all hell breaks loose, things don't work out the way I want to, and I look at this worst case and I go, wow, that's a really good life that I landed in. My horrible position was this.
Yep.
Then I give big things a go constantly. Big marketing campaigns, big technology builds, big data and research projects, big service initiatives, big team growth, big restructuring for leadership scale. I do that stuff now because my worst case looks really good.
Right.
So when you do that, I would say it becomes really easy for me. Like I don't fall to the short-term wins or quick stuff because I go, I don't need to. Like life's pretty good in the case that nothing worked out. I've got a pretty good life.
Right.
And so why not, instead of chasing those quick wins, go for the big wins?
Right.
So that's my little easy hack to anyone out there, is that if you don't have a life that you're willing to return to, that you're happy to return to, you will constantly chase quick wins for the rest of your life. Your patience and resilience capabilities will be extremely low. And then as a result, you'll be constantly dissatisfied. Or you're just so successful and you break through because of your fear of returning to that, you come to the other side. But the thing is, those people who can do that are, in my opinion, the true 1%ers. Otherwise, the 99% are usually those who are not happy with what they have, not happy with what they want to do, not content. And so they're escaping it. And in the pursuit of escape, they'll chase quick wins, fail, be dissatisfied, blame others, be a victim to their whole life.
Yeah.
And that is the people I don't want to associate myself with. So at the end of the day, I feel if you're long-term values driven and you have a worst case that you're happy with, it means you're doing something because you truly either are skilled at it or love it, or the impact that comes from it. So
yeah, amazing thought. One thing, this is a very interesting thought. I mean, an interesting thing that I would want to ask you, and a lot of people would love to know about it, I guess. If I asked you, what was your worst day building InvestorKit? What comes to your mind, shall we? One day where you feel it was just the worst.
The worst day. I haven't had a lot of bad days, but I would say the worst day would be to do with people. And not by people in terms of a bad employee or anything like that. But in the 7 years that I've been building InvestorKit, I can't sit here and say every moment's been perfect. There are moments where you restructure, you let people go, someone isn't performing, they let go. And that's why I can't say it's a worst day, because I've had multiple days like this. And it's like I get quite emotionally attached to people in any facet, whether it's someone who just started and they drop, anyone who comes to my company is dropping their life of before to come there.
Yeah.
That's not to say, and this is what I get taught constantly, it's not to say they can't have a better life elsewhere or their life's over because it didn't work out with what we're doing, or they can't do other things. But it's more like I owed them that responsibility, like to give them the best chance at having a very successful career here. I owed them the opportunity to achieve their wildest personal, professional, and financial goals. And so my worst days are usually the days surrounded across decisions that mean it's over for someone in our company.
Yeah.
And whether that's redundancies, whether it's performance-based, I don't think I'll ever lose that. I think that's just a part of who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Whether I'm 7 years in, or whether I have a bunch more gray hairs, or whether I have more businesses or multiple layers of leadership making those decisions for me. I just feel like that's just my emotional part of who I am. And it's just like, those are probably my worst days where I just think of, I could have trained someone more. I could have had a better system. I could have given them better guidance. I could have given them feedback faster and harder. I could have put in better coaching. I could have put in, and I just think of all the things I could have done.
Yeah.
And that's probably the stuff that feels crappy. Of course, I can sit there and go, but that's our standards of who we need and the caliber of who we need. But I always think back to like my career and I go, if you put 18-year-old me or 21-year-old me or even 25-year-old me in certain situations or companies around the world, there'd be a certain role that if you threw me in, I'd fail.
Yeah.
And that's probably when I'd say my toughest days. My toughest days are just those moments where I have to make those tough decisions for the better of the company or the direction we're going. And I wish I could have looked back and just done better.
Yeah. Because we've been talking about this, leading people and a lot of things and the failures and all that stuff, where you'd have to make people redundant based on performance or maybe restructuring. I'd love to know one thing. Do you feel that failure is important or necessary for clarity in life?
I'd say it's not necessary. It's not necessary. But what failure teaches you is one thing. It teaches you the power of momentum.
Right.
I will tell you right now, there's no better feeling in this world than momentum. There is no better feeling in this world than momentum. Like the best times of your life, if you think of your health and having like 4 or 5 weeks in a row of good gym, good eating, good like family time or anything, what happens? You lose weight.
Yeah.
You look better in clothes. You fit better.
Yeah.
You look in the mirror, you feel happier. Your energy levels are high when you're playing with your kids. You stand on the scale, the numbers lower.
Yeah.
Whatever feeling you want to chase, metric-based, energy-based, family, look and feel, strength.
Yeah.
There wasn't one thing in your life that didn't get better when you take care of your health.
Right.
You take that same thing everywhere in work. Okay, if you're achieving all your targets and goals that you set out at work, you have a different pep in your step. So I would say like there is nothing better than as a feeling, and for me, a male who's driven in that way, who wants to provide for his family, be a leader amongst leaders, be someone who wants to change the landscape of Australian property investing, who wants to build wealth and change the lives of family. This is just me speaking on me right now.
Yeah.
There's no better feeling than momentum. So what failure does teach you, I wouldn't say it's clarity, but it teaches you that when you lose momentum, it's the toughest thing ever. Like mentally, it's like the hardest thing ever. And getting it back's tough as well. And trying to find that mojo is tough. So I would say failure makes you value momentum more than ever. And so now you never take it for granted.
Right.
Now you figure out that if I'm good in any moment, keep going. There is no better feeling than momentum anywhere in life. You take it anywhere. Time with your loved ones, studying at school, like time, health, business success, career success.
Yeah.
Even sporting success.
Yeah.
Ask like if you have a chance to speak to any NBA player and you go, how did it feel winning that many championships in a row? Of course, sometimes people will say some things, but when you really ask them and you mean it, the swagger in their step or anything, and like there is no better feeling than just winning that thing constantly.
Yeah.
So I would say failure is that though. It teaches you how good that felt and you want to return to it. That's it.
Interesting perspective about it. Look, let's talk about the most hot topic around in Australia right now, right? So there's so much confusion in the real estate market because every second person has an opinion on it. What I would love to know from you is what are the 3 biggest lies people believe about the Australian property market?
One is they believe it's very, very expensive. And I don't think it is. If you've got only 25% debt in the country amongst all valuation of Australian property, you've got circa 600,000 transactions happening a year. That is not a small feat. That means lots of people are buying and are doing business. A transaction doesn't happen if it's unaffordable because the bank won't give you a loan. You won't have the money to have a deposit and you won't have money to have a repayment. So it's happening. And so that's the first misconception. Now, of course, there are moments and places and things that defy stats where you're like, oh, that used to be 4 times the income. Now it's 10 times the income. Right? I get it. I'm not going to say it's cheap, but I'm just going to say it's not as expensive as everyone thinks it out to be. If that much activity is happening, that much debt is available versus prices, and the amount of 20-something and 30-something-year-olds that we help is out of this world. Right? So I'd say that's the first misconception. The second misconception is that demand drives everything. Like, oh, look at these new jobs, look at these new people coming in, look at the population, look at Australia and all this new infrastructure. No, the big driver is supply. When supply is less, all it takes is these little movements of demand and you suddenly have some shift in prices. And when I say supply, I don't just mean building supply. Some people can build a lot of homes, but they've built premium, nice, expensive homes. So it's like, how does it make it cheaper? Right? How does it make it not grow if you keep building better and better and people keep coming in? I would say it's more established supply. But the third biggest misconception or trend that people get wrong is that they think of real estate is like some fully seasonal, singular, indicator-driven market. So I'll give you an example. Interest rates rising, everything's going to go down. Interest rates falling, everything's going to boom. Well, interest rates fell between 2012 and 2017 quite heavily. And during that time, Sydney and Melbourne went quite well. The surrounds went quite well, but Brisbane was flat. So if you were in 2012, you saw interest rates start declining, you were Brisbane is sitting there and you're like, I'm going to go buy a property, interest rates coming out, this is good news for me. And in about 7 to 8 years, no market growth. So this opposite occurred also. Interest rates boomed between 22 to 24 and they went up very quickly. And during that time, Sydney and Melbourne were quite weak. But during that time, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth were booming, Townsville booming, Rockhampton booming. All these areas are growing immensely. But wait, money's getting more expensive. How come? So I would say that these 3 things of expensiveness, demand-driven, and singular indicators where they think like this is it, this is the doomsday or this is the boom coming, they usually get it very wrong.
One thing I would love to have an insight from you about is for someone who's earning an average income, how can they still get started in property without overexposing themselves?
I would say there's 3 considerations you've got to have. The first thing is that the greatest property investors don't stay on the average income. So once you know that, I'm not saying it's bad to be on it, but you can't be on it forever and have a very successful portfolio. But once you're on it though, this moves on to the second point, is that you want to get started even in bite-sized chunks. Like sure, my first property was $970,000. It wasn't cheap by any means at 22 in 2015. It's an expensive price back then. But my next property was, $260,000 or $290,000. Another one was $180,000 back then. Now fast forward to today, that might be $500,000 to $700,000. So with $500,000 to $700,000, once you build up enough of the deposit, plus your rental income, plus your average income, suddenly you'll be on about $100K income plus combined if you're looking at average incomes plus rental income. And that might give you that, $500,000 to $600,000 plus loan for a $600,000 to $700,000 property. Right. So that might be your first leg in. And then it's about coming back to rule number 1, which as I said is don't stay on the average income forever. Right. Things will grow, things will change, things will shift. And then the third and final point is that lending is the game of finance. So if you can actually get the best loan terms or the best loan structure, you can leverage pretty aggressively at the start. This will help someone on that average income just starting up. But those 3 rules are the things together. A, don't be on the average income forever. Know that's the starting point. You can't be a very successful property investor unless you're also a very successful individual. Right? You can be adding wealth, adding leverage, but like maybe you're just getting what you need, which might be 2 to 3 properties to get to your goal, and it takes a while to get it because you haven't elevated your income. Or maybe you find a partner and that increases the income and it's there. But to become a prolific property investor, if that's one of your goals, you have to be a very successful individual, right? And so I'd say those are the 3 things that could help someone who's getting started on the average income. Is you can get started. Affordable prices can get you there, but don't be in that space forever if you want to build a pretty substantial portfolio. And yeah, those are the 3 things there.
If you were starting from scratch today, let's suppose you're just starting from scratch today, just 50,000 savings, how would your first move be in today's market?
My first move would be one of 2 things. Number 1 is I happen to be living in a city that provides me good prospects for capital growth. I'd then see, can I get a first home buyer deposit benefit, stamp duty waiver, lender's mortgage insurance waiver, low cost 40, 50K to get into a market. And if it means I have to move to a city, I'll move there and use my employment, if possible, add on a job and a laptop, right? And if that's not possible, and if I'm working in a cafe, I'll find a new cafe to work there that allows me to move to a location, that allows me to set up myself with a first home buyer rule, that allows me to get a pretty low way into the market. That's option 1. Well, the second one is realize that 50 might not be enough. And whether it's a long-term settlement that's 3, 6, 9 months away and I negotiate a deal and so I can have the deposit money from the 50, but I need to save for stamp duty and a bit more in between and really push myself hard to do it, I could do that.
Yeah.
Or wait till I save up a bit more and I'm ready again. At the end of the day, like, yeah, sure, prices are rising faster than some people's savings rates are, but this is a misconception where people go, oh, well, prices will be $1 million by the time I save my money. Well, I mean, you're not saving the whole remaining $1 million at the house. You're saving like a 5% deposit and some stamp duty for it. So like, you're not saving the whole thing. So even if a house went from 600K to $1 million, like that's, $400,000 gross, but you're not saving the 400,000 to buy it.
Right.
60K for the deposit versus 100K for the deposit at 10%. So plus costs. So you're saving that 40K during that time.
Right.
And if you can't save the 40K over a couple of years, then it's actually not the property market that's the issue. It's about the savings ability, the money management, the income growth rates, the habits. And you can go through periods of life where that's not perfect. Like not everyone can just wake up and be a high income earner just because someone on a podcast told them to be one.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's possible. And whichever role you're starting in, I was, doing stuff at the supermarket, the grocery market. So that was my first ever job. Things can change. And I think like that's the part that people find it hard to do, which is they look at the situation of today. They see that's been the situation for them for many years.
Yeah.
Therefore, they think that can't change and it's a fixed object. They might say, who's going to go and do that job then? Well, someone else can.
Someone else, yeah.
Right? Everyone has their phases in life. My daughter or son will be that person in that job at that time who's earning a lower income but starting their career.
Yeah.
Like they're starting. It's a start. And people come in, have their starts, and you're no longer at your start. And so that's just kind of my belief there, and easier said than done, but it's a challenge worth pushing for. That's my thoughts.
I often hear the fact that, wealth starts in the mind before it starts in the bank. What does that mean to you?
I would say it does. It does. I mean, if you don't have a goal or a vision for something, it makes it hard to actually like start to close the gaps in the actions to do. It starts in the mind for sure. But if you're going to sit there and manifest and think that a bit of woo-woo and thinking like that gets you goals, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Action is where everything starts happening. But it's a start. If you have your phone screen show you what you're doing it for, if you have sessions with your partner and you're chatting about it and talking about it and realignment. So I feel like mindset is a start, it's a spark. Mindset in psychology is the moment that lets you know how far you can take this because it's all limited by how far you think.
Yeah.
And then mindset in psychology is alignment, but it doesn't equal the result. So it's alignment, it's spark, it's distance, but to actually do it is the doing, not the mindset.
Most people, people in today's generation, most people want financial freedom, but very few want financial discipline. Why do you think that is?
It's just hard. I mean, this could be one of the reasons, but I won't say it's the only reason. I saw this random thing as I was scrolling the internet, and I saw this thing say, kids in the 90s are able to tolerate discipline, patience a little bit more because of how they played video games. And I found this funny. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's true. But then as I was reading it, being a biased 90s kid, I was like, oh, must be true, right?
Yeah.
But what it was is they said, people played games like Mario or, Pac-Man or these other games. And those games represented you have 3 lives. You stop, you start, you restart again. You had patience, you had resilience, you had frustration as well. But like all of these things taught you that you had a limited chance. You had to try again. You had to get better the second time around and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You had to stick at it. Today's video games are built for the actual company's benefit to keep you hooked on, to keep you in a room. We used to go to my mate's place so we could all play FIFA together.
Yeah.
We had friendship. We didn't have loneliness.
Yeah.
We used to go to play games that simulated real life. It was basketball. It was cricket. It was FIFA. It was UFC. It was fighting. It was a shooting game that had a point system, a game system, like that didn't just like keep going. Like there was things. But I mean, I say that from just that funny post I read. I don't think that's it could be, who knows? But I guess the main thing is that it's hard. And discipline just means it's hard. And we all go through moments that we think we're, got it down packed and everything's going to be easy. Like even with the health stuff, I went through roller coasters there. But it's just hard. And so I think anything that's hard, if everyone could do it, it wouldn't be hard, would it?
Yeah.
So I just think it's that's as simple as it gets. It's just hard. And so that's why the discipline piece needs to happen, but it doesn't happen for most.
Similarly, like what you've said about the FIFA and all that stuff, about Super Mario and all that stuff, reminded me of cricket. How maybe the old school people enjoy the test cricket, whereas the new generation enjoys the T20 because it's fascinating, it's fast, it's quick.
True. You want the results sooner, you want the outcome sooner, you want the big moment sooner. It's constant dopamine, right?
Yeah.
Life's made out that way.
One thing I'd love to know before we get to the end of this podcast is, where do you see Australian property market heading in the next 3 years?
Yeah, it's a good question. Now, before I jump in, you made me just realize something in the last question where you said about the fast thing. I got to give credit to the current generation now, though. There is people who can channel that and move that to a positive.
Yeah.
Because they want everything fast. They think of ways to get things faster. So they're geniuses in their own right.
Yeah.
Like the companies that are being built today by the people in their 20s are mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And someone in their 40s and 50s and 30s just isn't going to be able to catch them. So like I'd say there's one that flip side to it, which is like their thinking ability. It's just next level.
Right. True.
Because the ones who can channel that environment they're in, which has lots of negatives to it.
Yeah.
But if you can channel it to a positive, game over, no one can stop you. Same with content creation, like the way the people in their 20s are creating content today, it's like changing the game. But coming back to the moment of now, if you could remind me of that question again.
Australian real estate market, where you see it in the next 3 years?
Oh, look, I'd say money's going to get cheaper. I would say markets are still going to be undersupplied. And I would say a lot more people are going to call Australia home. A lot more jobs in alternate industries will need to be created. And a lot more infrastructure projects will need to get off the ground to house the new people that are calling Australia home.
Yeah.
So it still screams out positive times ahead for the real estate market.
So does that mean you feel that buying houses is going to be a realistic dream for a lot of Australians?
Oh, look, it already is. There's 600,000 transactions that happen in a year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, it's definitely, and look, 65% of houses are owner-occupied.
Right.
Another 10% of the houses that aren't owner-occupied are invested in houses by people who choose to rent and invest, right, for lifestyle or flexibility. So you're almost talking 3/4 of housing is there. And then of the 25% of remaining renters that are renting, not all of them are renting forcefully.
Yeah.
Some rent by choice. I want to go to another city and I don't want to kind of call it home forever. I want to go to the eastern suburbs of Sydney and I do want to go there and basically say, I want to be in the best neighborhoods of the country because I just know that it can't be somewhere I live in, right? You can't wake up one day, move out of home and be like a 19, 20-year-old and go, oh, you know what? I'm working hard. I'm in my 20s and I should deserve a home in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, the most expensive market in the country.
Right.
And one of the most, desired markets in the world. So I'd say, yes, the possibilities of getting a place are definitely there. But could you get it in the place at the price that you want to, in the area that you want to? No.
Yeah.
Could you get a place at the price that you want to at the same ratio of growth that your parents once got a place at that time? No. But can you get a place?
Yeah.
And can you continue to get a place?
Right.
Sure. Yeah, you can.
One thing I'd love to know from you is, if you could say something to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Oh, look, I'd say you're going into a phase where you're about to be the fittest you've ever been. If you could do everything you are destined to do in business and life and financial investments and things whilst keeping your fitness,
Yeah.
that would be the best thing ever. Don't eat that extra donut. I'd say that because like it's been hard to get back to that. I am getting back into it though. I've been having some good momentum, but it's hard.
Yeah.
So I would say if I could go through life again, I'd do so with a bit more discipline on what I put into my mouth in terms of food. That'd probably be the only change of make in life. Everything else would stay as is.
Nice. Last thing I would love to know from you. One thing is, when you look back, what did entrepreneurship teach you about yourself and not just about the business?
It taught me that if I really do think bigger and match that thinking with a high motor, a high output, and then I have mentors and lessons that I learned around me through thinking bigger that help me make better decisions as time goes on.
Yeah.
You'll make a lot of impact in this world.
Nice.
And so I would say that has taught me the power of entrepreneurship, whereas that if you have your high motor, if you keep having humility and make better decisions as time goes on and you keep thinking big, you can leave the world a much better place. And to me, that's one of the most motivating things now is that I can do that and I will do that. And so on. That's it.
Today's episode wasn't just about property. It was about perspective. Arjun showed us that you don't need to project the future. You just need to prepare for it. Success isn't just about luck. It's about learning faster than everyone else. And that's what makes this man truly raw and real. Thank you so much, Arjun, for coming onto the show. It was really a pleasure having you on the podcast and telling a lot of things or teaching us a lot of things, which probably is also good for me to learn about the property market and the discipline and all that stuff. Would love you to just say a word to the audience that's watching to end this up.
Of course. So look, thanks for having me on the Raw and Real podcast. Hope you got something out of there. If there's just one thing out of there that you got, to me, that's a session well spent that can help you in your life and get some good outcomes and growth ahead, whether it's in business, your career or investments. And thanks for having me, mate.
Thank you, Arjun. So that was it, guys, for another episode of Raw Real Podcast. We'll be back again with another episode with another guest where probably you would learn a lot of more valuable information on different domains, different niche. But till then, keep watching our episodes and keep supporting us. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.